grooves and textured harmonies is the heartbeat of the soul. Lyrically, emotionally, and powerful is what we love. It's Indie Soul Saturday, only on Source Radio Network.
What's good? Hey, what's good, Source Nation? Welcome to yet another show-stopping production of Indie Soul Saturdays. I'm your host, James Johnson, and as always, I'm excited to be here in the studios with you today. I'm glad that everybody is tuned in, and we are going to have an amazing, a blazing show in store for you today. First hour, we are bringing you a hot conversation with musical sensation Jolie Rocke Brown. It's always amazing to have her here on the show, and this definitely is not the first time, so it's definitely getting ready to go down this first hour. Definitely really excited about that. Our second hour, we're going to be bringing you the amazing talent of Kimberly. You did hear that right. It's Kimberly, and she's also here to share her ministry, to share her music, and it's definitely going to be really hot for you guys that second hour as well. It's surely going to be an amazing show, as we always say, and again, we're definitely glad that you all are tuned in. If you are close to a phone today, we would love for you to call in and talk to the artist today. We want you to hear your voices, but most importantly, we want our artists that we bring in to definitely feel the engagement. We want them to feel welcome here at Indie Soul Saturdays, as we always aim to make them feel. But we definitely want to do that through you. So by all means, if you are close to that phone, make sure that you do take a moment. Give us a call. We do have the lines open. That number, 619-924-0933. Again, that's 619-924-0933. And as I always like to say, today is definitely going to be your chance to be heard. Now, I also want to take a quick moment to shout out our many sponsors. There's many people who, they stay in the background. They don't really make a lot of noise. They don't necessarily say a lot, but they have so much to do with our day-to-day hustle, with our day-to-day process. And there's a whole lot that's happening here at Indie Soul Saturdays. There's a whole lot happening at Source Radio Network that would not go down if it were not for these people. So we definitely are grateful. We're always gracious, and I love to make sure that I make mention of that. Those sponsors include Paper to Film Productions, also Revolutionary Meals, Scott Cares Foundation, Urban Grandstand Digital, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend to Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Renovations, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. So again, I definitely want to say thank you for everything that they have going on and the things that they are contributing to Source Radio Network and, most definitely to Indie Soul Saturdays. Now, all that being said, I want you guys to kind of sit back, chill, listen to the music that we're going to play here, to the amazing artists. And when we come back, we're going to be live in the studio with Mrs. Jolie Rocke Brown right here on Indie Soul Saturdays and Source Radio Network.
Source Nation, you're listening to Indie Soul Saturdays.
Source Radio Network is just one of the many platforms that is used to fulfill dreams of our listeners and create a purpose that will impact the lives of our communities, cities, and the world. It is often said that great things will happen when a group of driven people work together to accomplish one goal. We're giving people the opportunity to have a voice, translate words that haven't been heard, and paint pictures that no one has seen. Source Radio Network is fueling your life's purpose. How can you listen? www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio.
Hey you, do you know your history? Do you know your culture? We have a beautiful history full of triumph, determination, perseverance, love, hope, faith, family, and community. And as your great griot, I want to share that history with you. A griot? It's pronounced griot, or in English, a griot. It's a West African term for the person who keeps up with the genealogy, the history, the culture, shares the stories of the people, and so much more. We're like a walking library, full of knowledge and ready to share. I'm going to take you into the history and the culture of your people from all over the world. A griot's purpose is to serve the people. That's right. As the great griot, I am here to serve you. Because the more you know, the more you grow. Wait, that's not my quote. Oh well, it's the truth.
The Great Griot, a brand new Black History web series. Check us out online at www.thegreatgriot.com or subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/thegreatgriot.
I was lost and all
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening to Indie Soul Saturdays.
Source Nation, welcome back. You are tuned in to Indie Soul Saturdays, and again, this is your host, James Johnson. I'm especially excited about this hour. We have a young lady here on the show today who we've definitely had here before, but she's that type of spirit that you're just excited to be around, and you're excited, to obviously have that opportunity to really connect with her whenever you can. So it's always amazing to connect with Mrs. Jolie Rocke Brown. I want to go ahead and welcome her into the studios. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, James. How are you?
I'm amazing, and I know the last time we spoke, I told you how awesome it was to always connect with you. So I'm actually glad that we're back in this spot again, because it's really, really good to talk and, really hear about the many things that you always have going on.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to be back, and thank you for the invitation again.
Oh, yeah. I think it's definitely great. There's so much that, obviously we went over the last time, so obviously we're going to backtrack through some of that. But I think this is good because it's definitely going to open that window up for us to get some more information in there. So, again, thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
You're welcome.
Now, I know that, there's been so much going on. I know that the first time that you and I connected, you were working on another extended degree, and obviously still teaching. So kind of catch everybody up, catch the Source Nation up to everything that has happened, because I know that there's been a graduation now, right?
Well, we're moving toward the graduation. I am finished all the dissertation now, and I'm in the throes of writing the dissertation, which will be finished shortly, and I will graduate by the end of the year. So I'm really excited about that. And so that's what's going on with me in terms of getting my doctorate in vocal performance from the University of Connecticut. And then I'm still teaching at Texas Southern University as a visiting professor. And I'm also at TSU. We have a theater and called the Deluxe Theater, which is in 5th Ward, and it's a community collaboration between the City of Houston, Texas Southern University, and 5th Ward Redevelopment Corporation. And I, starting July 1st, will be the managing director of the theater.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yes, there's wonderful things going on. And I'm still performing.
Oh, we know you're performing, and we know that you are an amazing performer. So we're definitely going to talk about that and talk about your music as well. But I'm kind of backtracking to this doctorate. Like, obviously you hear so much, when people are doing this, and you hear about how difficult it is. But you and I both know that you do enough for the whole world. So there's so many different things that you have going on at all times. Like, how are you balancing that? And I know full well that you're doing very well through this program. So how are you balancing it all and continuing to teach and continuing to run that beautiful family you have and everything else that's going on? Like, how do you manage that?
First of all, it's by the grace of God, and only by the grace of God. Started my doctorate back in 2003, and I was a full-time student while I was performing and raising my family for 4 years. And then I took a break from my doctorate because I didn't have the time to write, and I was working, in teaching, and I was working on building my career further. And I decided last year in the spring that I wanted to complete my doctorate, and I was near the end, so it was just a matter of me completing 2 20-page papers, and completing my doctoral comprehensive exam. So I talked with my department chair at Texas Southern and told him, I said, I'm going to complete this doctorate this year. and I really need to focus. Now, my family is in Connecticut, and I commute back and forth from Houston to Connecticut at least once a month. And so I spent less time on the holidays at home. I spent more time in Houston studying, and I took my exams over my winter break. So I was in Houston for 3 weeks over the winter break in January, and I was literally at my computer and just taking my exams and studying and at the library and so forth and writing. And so that worked out. And I had to fly back to Connecticut a couple of times to take my oral comprehensive that I knew what I was talking about and what I wrote on the exam.
Right.
And so I completed those. That all went well. And then I started working on my dissertation proposal, which I had been doing research toward my dissertation for several years. So it was just a matter now of me writing based on all the research that I've been collecting over the years. And my dissertation is based on Marian Anderson's work as a Goodwill ambassador. Okay.
I love your personality, but I love the way when you said, you know what, it only took 2 20-page papers. Like that's all it took.
Well, that was the end. Look, James, I took 76 credits of coursework for my doctorate over 4 years. So that was, and I performed in operas and performances. I had to do 3 recitals. I had to study 2 languages and pass exams for those. So that I had done in those 4 years that I was full-time. So on the back end, when you say 2 papers and some exams, it's not as big a deal.
I remember in grad school, I had a paper that was 42 pages, and I can remember sitting in the parking lot of the school ready to drop the class. Like, this is just unacceptable. This is unacceptable. So when you say that, I'm like, wow. I love it. Like, I really admire, obviously your strength and your tenacity and just, taking the time to go through that program, because it's not easy by any means.
No.
But I love the fact that you set that goal and you made it happen. You set that goal, you wanted it to happen, and you made it happen. And that's such inspiration to so many people who are listening to you today and who have listened to you for a long time. The fact that you took the time and you spent the time, commuting between Connecticut and Houston, and the beautiful family that, again, that I note that you have because of the fact that they support you. And there's a lot of people who would do it in a heartbeat, but they can't because they don't have the support behind them.
They don't have
it's
the
such
support.
a blessing.
And you're absolutely right. It is a tremendous blessing to have the support, and I have the support of my family. I have the support of my church community in Connecticut and my church community and friends in Texas. So I really count myself blessed, and I'm very grateful to God for all that he allows me to do for myself and for others, because I'm also a big giver in terms of, lending my gifts to the community and giving back in service.
And you've done, I love the fact that you mentioned community, because you've done so much for the community, whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, whether it's spiritually. And I kind of take this in the direction of health, because I know that, your health is something that you have constantly worked on. And I love noting, and I'm noting the fact that, you're a cancer survivor. And, working through that and working through the treatment. And then again, on top of that, doing this program and continuing to teach all the way through it and continuing with that family. I can remember, throughout school, I've basically done, gone to school full time. I've worked full time and, just kind of did the full gamut. And I can remember times, even recently, where I wanted to pack my family up and ship them off somewhere and just be like, this is it. and so the things that I know that you have worked through, I think it's just amazing. And I really want to really share that and then kind of have you speak to that as well, as far as how you got, through your health issues as well.
Well, again, by the grace of God, I told you I have a tremendous faith community and friends. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2010, I had surgery, had major surgery, and when I came home for 2 weeks, my church family took care of me. There was someone at my house from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, making sure that I ate. There were meals brought over 3 times a week, which, of course, our folk, I had plenty of food. And then there, people just literally sat with me, and we talked about God together, and just we ministered to one another. And I will never forget that time period, and I'm so grateful to God. I had never felt that type of love. That my church family would literally just wrap their arms around me, prayed for me, and literally cared for me. And that was such a blessing. And I also had friends who were cancer survivors that came and spoke to me. And we talked to one another, and they shared their stories with me. And them sharing their stories with me helped me to get through my journey with cancer. And so I'm a great inspiration to other cancer survivors. And, 7 years out, I still have women that call me when they're going through a cancer journey. And they know that they can call me, and their family members will, talk to Jolie. She can share her experience and maybe help you find information online or talk with different doctors. And, because to me that's very helpful to someone who's going through a very scary time period. At the same time, I clung to my faith, and God carried me through, and I would sing hymns, and and it was just, at a time period where you would think you're extremely afraid, and I had moments of fear. I was also tremendously inspired to move forward, and I felt that God wasn't through with me yet.
I think it's so beautiful, and having worked in healthcare for the past 15, 16 years, I've actually worked in a cancer center, so it's amazing to see. It's amazing to see the stories and to see the struggles that, a lot of men and women go through. And, just the, that, people like yourself are able to deal with it. And then the people that were there for you, and then kind of vice versa, the people that you were there for. I think it's such an amazing thing because the doctors don't always know. They don't always have the answer. And a lot of times you run into, issues with, certain healthcare members who a lot of times, some people are just kind of ready to throw in the towel, or they figure that, well, this is the way that it goes and this is just what happens. But, you can definitely fight these things. And I think that you're a tremendous, inspiration to so many people in terms of that.
Thank you. And, look, I'm grateful to be an inspiration to others. I really am. Yeah. Because while I'm inspiration to others, that also blesses me, but I don't do it for that reason, right. But it happens that way. I didn't think that I would get breast cancer, first of all. Who thinks that that's what's going to happen to them? And,
exactly.
I had been singing for many years before I was diagnosed, and, many people from my church community had shared with me, they said, Jolie, you've been there for us and at funerals and weddings and, and ministering to us during church services, and, you don't realize how much of a blessing you've been to us, so we need to be there for you.
Right.
And I hadn't, up until that point, I hadn't thought about it that way. I just thought I was doing what God purposed me to do and to minister to others and to give service as part of my Christian duty and my stewardship responsibilities as a Christian. But then, you realize that other people also have that Christian duty and need to be good stewards of Christ. And so that right. came back in that light. And, it's just a blessing to see how God works.
Most definitely. And, like I said, it's definitely inspiring to so many people. But I really want to take this over to the music now, because you have some amazing music obviously that you're presenting to the world. And we're happy to be able to play it here on the show today. So I know that we have Rock of Ages, we have Even So, Lord Jesus Come Quickly, and we also have His Eye on the Sparrow. So what I would love for you to do is we'll kind of go one by one, but I'll have you talk about each song, and then we'll go ahead and play it here, obviously on the show.
Okay. Which are you going to play first?
So actually, we're going to start with Rock of Ages first. So I would love for you to actually speak to Rock of Ages.
Okay, Rock of Ages is the title track on my release from 2000. My mom and I used to sing Rock of Ages as a duet in the car when we'd be driving home from church or going on errands, and we would just start singing. It was one of my favorite hymns as a teenager. And so I decided that I wanted, in honoring my mom, who was also a breast cancer survivor, I wanted to name the CD Rock of Ages. And I wanted this to be an upbeat song that helped people remember that God is the rock of all ages. He doesn't change, and He is always going to be there for you, and just cling to Him. Because through Him, we are saved and our sins are washed away.
Hey, I want to go ahead and play. And play that here for Source Nation. So this is Rock of Ages by Mrs. Jolie Rocke Brown right here on Indie Soul Saturday.
For all my sins.
love that song there. But the piano that that plays throughout, I love that piano and just the riffs that we hear. Like who played on this with you, just in terms musically?
Well, on the CD, I have two pianists that are playing. I have Dan Campolita and Joel A. Martin. And then on bass is Lou Boccarelli. And then on drums is, who's my drummer? Charlie Dye is the drummer. Yeah, so awesome musicians. And we tour together. Oftentimes they travel with me. And, whenever they can. So it's great. They're all based Dan is in Washington, D.C. now, and Joel, Charlie, and Lou are based in Connecticut.
I think you have pulled together an amazing team, and I think back to my childhood and my early childhood, and I was introduced to really just the music at a very early age because I have a lot of family who have performed professionally and some family members who are out there now in the industry that are doing some things, and it's really been a lifelong journey. So I was introduced to music at a very early age, and I actually played drums all the way up until I was 20. So
wow.
I love, obviously that background, and I love the music that we hear and the musicality that we're getting from your songs. And that song right there, I thought it was amazing with the pianos and everything.
Thank you.
Now, in terms of, I know we're going to play some more music, but I'm kind of throwing some questions in between. Talk a little bit about, more music that you've been working on as of lately.
Okay, so I'm currently working on my third full album, which I'm hoping to release the end of the year, if not the end of the year, in the spring. And so I go into the studio in August to record, and I'm selecting the music now, working on the arrangement, and it's going to be Rock of Ages 2.
Oh, wow. That already I can say that's going to be amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. So Joel Martin will be the music producer for that. I'm an indie artist, so I'm the executive producer for all of my recordings. And then I choose who I want to be on and who I want to do the engineering and the record, and the producing for the music and the arrangers and composers. And, yeah, I choose all the music, select the songs that I want to do. And I have some input. I've done some of the arranging in collaboration with some of the other fellas that arrange with me. And so, I enjoy that.
I'm glad you speak on being independent. I'm actually going to ask you a couple of questions about that as we move forward, but I'm going to go ahead and go to the next song. So we have Even So, Lord Jesus, Come Quickly. Talk a little bit about that before we go ahead and play it.
All right. Even So, Lord Jesus, Quickly Come is a church anthem that's usually sung by a choir. This is the first solo arrangement that exists of the piece. It was written by Paul and Ruth Mance back in the 1970s. Their son was 2 years old and was deathly ill and hospitalized. And Ruth and Paul were by his side. And one day Ruth pulled the text from Revelation. And Paul went home and wrote this selection and wrote the music out. And when he came back to the hospital, his son had made a big turn for the better and ended up recovering. And so that inspirational piece of how healing music can be was just really inspirational to me. And it's one of my favorite Advent hymns. Advent is the time leading up to the birth of Christ, that we're awaiting Christ's coming. And so I really love this song. And I decided to record it, and I arranged it with Joel Martin. He's on piano, and I'm singing it. I also have a video on YouTube, if people want to go and see it on YouTube, of me singing it with sign language, with American Sign Language. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce this song. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce this to everyone.
All right, so listen now to "E'en So, Lord Jesus, Quickly Come."
E'en so, Lord Jesus, quickly come. Peace be to you and grace from Him who freed us from our sins and loved us all and shed His blood that we might saved be. Sing holy, holy to our Lord, the Lord Almighty God, who was and is to come. Sing holy, holy Lord. Rejoice in heaven, all ye that dwell therein. Rejoice on earth, ye saints below. For Christ is coming soon. For Christ is coming soon. E'en so, Lord Jesus, quickly come, and the night will be no more. They'll need no light, no lamp, nor sun, for Christ will be there all. Rejoice in heaven, all ye that dwell therein. Rejoice on earth, ye saints below. For Christ is coming. Christ is coming soon. Christ is coming E'en so, Lord Jesus, quickly come.
I love that song there. You spoke a little bit just about the fact that you're independent. I look at it, just in terms of your journey and your career, as though you have been so successful. Like, you've been majorly successful, obviously, as an independent artist. Like, kind of looking back over your career, like, how do you feel that, being independent really helped you, in terms of moving forward with your career and really adding in everything that you've had to deal with along the way? How do you think that being independent has really worked and helped you?
Okay, so I had an entertainment attorney, James Walker, based in Atlanta. And James and I met actually when he was based in Connecticut, but he moved to Atlanta a few years ago. And when James and I talked, originally I was seeking, to be with a production company and a record label. And he said to me, Jolie, you have the skills to be able to do this on your own, and it will save you a lot of money, and you'll be able to probably get your product out better. And so that's what I focused on. I went on to do the research on ASCAP and Harry Fox and read some of the copyright laws, went on to the Library of Congress site, became a member of ASCAP so that I could do my own producing and songwriting and with guidance from friends who are in the industry and through James, I was able to produce my first album. I also did a huge fundraising campaign amongst, again, friends and supporters that had been following my music and had been asking me to do recordings. My first recording was classical, and so because I am a trained opera singer, so it was classical music, and I had a funder approach me and said, I will pay for your album, your first CD. I was like, whoa,
wow.
Thank you, God. And then the Rock of Ages, I was able to raise over $17,000 in about 3 months from several different donors and patrons because they wanted to see the project come to fruition. And then I was able to go into a high-quality studio and work with high-quality musicians to really bring forth a project that's worthy. No one would, listening to my project, you don't know that it's an independent, necessarily independent recording. You would think, wow, this is a great, record company who did this. And it was independently done. And I'm really proud of it. I'm grateful for all of the guidance that I had and for the people that seeded into my ministry.
I think it's beautiful, and it goes to show that there's so much, there's so much power that you can have, and there's so much that you can do as an independent artist. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but on the flip, there's so much that comes from being an independent artist. So I love the fact that being on that platform, you can really speak to that, and that, obviously that's the whole purpose of this show, but it's really good to have someone
James,
able to speak to it.
I had an idea of I had a vision of what I wanted my sound to be. I had a brand that I had created, and I didn't want anybody to kind of play with that too much.
Right.
And so, oftentimes when you go to a record label, they're telling you what they think, not that that's a bad thing. They have an idea of what the industry and what consumers are looking for, but they're also putting a big ticket item on that. And so at the end of the day, what are you going to gain financially for all of the work that you put in and that faith that you put in? So at the end of the day, I know that when I'm selling my recordings, I'm getting the bulk of the profit on that because I did the bulk of the work.
And I think that's beautiful. There's so much that so many people can really learn from that. We're actually going to play some more music of yours here, and we're actually, going to go ahead and continue to do Negro Spirituals. So this is Negro Spirituals right here on Indie Soul Saturdays with Mrs. Jolie Rocke Brown.
Spirituals, we know, are the first true American art form.
Christian stories, and they all fuse together. He's got the woods and the waters in his hand. He's got the woods and the waters in his hand. He's got the sun and the moon right in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot preach
can see, that particular piece was a compilation of a live concert that I did. That was actually the first concert that I performed after following my chemotherapy session.
I think that is so beautiful. You have so much power in your voice. Like, that has to be the last thing that you perform at the end of the night, though, right?
Oh, no. No. I could just keep going, please.
I think it's beautiful. Like, I think growing up, I never thought that I could be somebody, or that I would be somebody who could be into opera. And I love that. Like, even going to see different operas and whatnot, and obviously hearing that, I love it. I could listen to it all day long.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love singing spiritual, so
right.
I
think
sing
it's
them
definitely
anything.
beautiful. Now we have one more song here that I definitely want us to go ahead and play, and that is "His Eye Is on the Sparrow." Can you speak a little bit to that before we go ahead and play that?
His Eye Is on the Sparrow also has a direct influence on my breast cancer journey. When I received the call from the doctor, I was walking down the street from having had picked up my lunch. I was on my way back to school. I was teaching, and we were having a performance that night, and the doctor called and said, "I think you have cancer." And as I got back to the school and pulled out, my dinner to start eating, I looked over, and there were two musicians in the room that were on faculty. One was a pianist named Terrence Schreider, and the other was a dear friend and bassist, Paul Brown. And I said, "Paul, Terrence, do you all know His Eyes on the Sparrow? I need to sing that right now." And I sang that in the room. So when I decided to do the CD Rock of Ages, I wanted His Eyes on the Sparrow to be on that CD so that it would be inspirational to other people going through life's trials.
We're going to go ahead and play that right now. So this is Mrs. Jolie Rocke Brown with His Eye Is on the Sparrow right here on Indie Soul Saturday.
Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? whenever clouds arise, when songs give way to sighing, when hope within me dies, I draw the closer to him. From care, God sets me free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. I know he watches. God watches me.
I tell you, that is amazing to me no matter how many times I hear it.
Thank you.
Definitely amazing to me every time I hear it. I know that we talked a little bit about, obviously music that you've been working on that's going to be coming soon. What are some of the other things that, your audience can really look out for from you, I'll say throughout the remainder of this year?
Well, on October 7th, I'll be down in Raleigh, North Carolina, on a tour that I've been on since its inception called the Footsteps of Peace Tour. We started back in 2014 in New York City at Riverside Church, and we're going to be down in Raleigh, North Carolina, October 7th. I also have some performances up in Connecticut. Going through the end of the year. I'm looking towards doing a concert in Somerville, Massachusetts, hopefully before the end of the year, and also down in Port Washington, New York. So there's several things coming up.
I think that's amazing. I think it's a lot of things that, people are definitely looking out for. Where are some of the places that everyone can check you out online?
Definitely on YouTube, Jolie Rocke Brown, JolieRockkeBrown. I'm on YouTube. It's the same handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find my music on CD Baby. You can find it on Amazon, Spotify, iTunes. And you can definitely go to my website, www.JolieRockkeBrown.com. And I also produce production shows, and you can go to my production website at www.jrb-productionsllc.com. Yeah. So that's how you can find me.
I think it's amazing. I'm always grateful, to be able to connect with you. So thank you so much for giving us that opportunity again, and we definitely will do this again.
Thank you. Let me just also give a shout-out to Felicia Leslie, my manager. You can reach me also through her at Act Management, and that's on my website as well.
Hey, we definitely will. Thank you so, so much. And, again, we definitely will do this again.
Thank you so much, James, for having me on Indie Soul Saturday, Source Nation, and I look forward to being on again in the future.
All righty. You have a great afternoon.
Thanks. You too. Many blessings.
Uh-huh. Now, there you have it, Source Nation. We have wrapped up our first hour here with Mrs. Jolie Rocke Brown. We're definitely glad everybody was tuned in for that. I think it was an amazing conversation. We've wrapped up the show today. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is Indie Soul Saturdays. Again, I was your host, James Johnson, and we will be back here same time, same place next Saturday.
Get at me for beats, yo.